every day at my club to realize that he had completely forgotten the dollar. Now what has happened? You know what? You try and become normal when it happens regularly. He tried for some time. Say if you talk about a dollar in front of him or any kind of currencies, he might get reminded. No, he couldn't get reminded. If you talk about something else which relates to the dollar inside it, it might happen so that you get reminded about the lost dollar. But again, he could not make any reference. Slowly and steadily, he felt that the thing has clearly gone out of his mind. And when the things are gone out of his mind, you can never get that back into it. And thus, now he becomes habituated about the lost dollar. It took me some time. I see Todd practically every day at my club. So you meet regularly. You try once, twice, thrice, 4 times, many a times. But then you stop gradually. You feel now there is no way and no chance when you can again remind him about the same dollar. And thus you stop making or giving your efforts in reminding him. He felt that the dollar has completely been forgotten. I asked him one day what his trip cost him, and he said that he kept no accounts. Now what do you mean by that? Trip cost him. Again, the costing accounts and everything comes while again you make him remind about the whole dollar. A little later, I asked him if he felt settled down after his trip, and he said that he had practically forgotten about it. Now what is that settled down? You know, when he was moving towards Bermuda, he was in a hush-bush. What is hush-bush? He was in a hurry. He had to pick up the train. He had to move around, and he was very, very in a hurry. And made it happen so that after coming back, he could not even get settled by unpacking the things and could settle down. Now when he asked about settling down, it means now if you have settled down, you might have remembered what you have forgotten on 8th of April. Yeah. So what he said was he had practically forgotten. Kya, kab gaya tha, and what did he do and when did he go? He had completely forgotten the whole incident of going to Bermuda. Again, there are no chances to be seen that the dollar is lost. So, how disappointed must be Mr. Leacock when he saw this, when he heard this. So, I knew it was all over. In all this, I bear Todd no grudge. Now, what is grudge? Grudge. Grudge is something which you call as hesitation within yourself. Hesitation in asking the things. You have your own money with the friend, but you are not willing to ask about it. Why? Why is the reason? May it be because that the amount is very less? May it be because your friend is very valuable to you? May it be because you feel now the lost is lost. You don't need to make him remind the things again. I have simply added him to the list of men who owe me $1 and who have forgotten it. So it might be that there are many more people who have taken or borrowed the dollar from him and have forgotten. Let Todd be one of them. And he has added Todd to the list of those who have borrowed the dollar to him but could not lend it back. They have forgotten. Right? There are quite a few of them now. I make no difference in my demeanour to them, but I only wish that I could forget. Now, what is demeanour? Demeanour is behavior. Demeanour is how you behave regularly. You're habituated. Right? There are quite a few of them now. It makes me no difference in my demeanour, in my behavior towards them. As I told you that he tried to remind Todd many a times. But when he felt that the whole thing is moved out of his brain, then what he did was he forgot. He forgot now that the dollar was ever given to Mr. Todd. And when he added few people along with them, he is now becoming more habituated towards other people also. Right? So this is about the lost dollar. Let us see in the new slide that I meet Todd frequently. Only 2 nights ago. Now, there's one more incident when he has met Todd somewhere. You can see the picture. It is some sort of a restaurant or say inn where you take your dinner. Right? So during the dinner, you happen to talk. Yeah. So while you are talking, you come along certain words which unconsciously come towards you. And when it comes to you, it happens so that you might get reminded, oh, while speaking this, you remind, oh, I forgot to give you that thing, right? So while he was talking, when he met Todd again at the dinner, and they were talking about what? Apparently, without self-consciousness, about Poland. About what? Let us see. He said that Poland would never pay her debts. It is DEBTS. How do you pronounce that? The pronunciation is debts. B is silent. When you are pronouncing debts, it is debts. Now what is that? You would think a thing like that would remind him. What? He's talking about the debts. That's it. Udhari. Right? Udhar. Kona upar. That is Poland. You're talking about someone's debts and you have forgotten that you also have taken a debt. You also are a debtor. And you have not given back the dollar to the author. Right? He said that Poland would never pay her debts. And with that word, you would do you think that it would be reminded? Wouldn't you? If in case it was you might have been reminded. But it didn't seem to. Nothing went inside his mind. But meantime, a painful thought had begun to come into my minds at intervals. That thought was something very painful. Now, while you're thinking about dollar all the time, it might happen so that you also start feeling that you have also committed some mistake. What was the thought which was coming into Mr. Leacock's mind? Let us see. It is this. If Todd owes me $1 and has forgotten it, it is possible, and indeed it is theoretically probable, that there must be men to whom I owe $1. There may be men means many people to whom I owe $1 and which I have forgotten. Now see the difference now. When he gets reminded that Todd has owed $1 to me, right, or I have owed $1 to Todd, what about others to whom I have owed $1? And may it happen that I might have also forgotten to give it back. He says there may be a list of them. The more I think of it, the less I like it, because I am quite sure that if I had once forgotten $1, I should never pay it on this side of the grave. Again showing the behavior of human nature. Human nature is such. When you want something from others, you always remind. It is always reminded to you. You never forget to take it back. But to give, you might even forget. Right? So here he says that if it is a list of people to whom I owe $1 and I have forgotten to give it back, I think I should also never pay it till this side of the grave, before I die. This is what he wants to say. And if there are such men, I want them to speak out. Speak out means to tell once that yes, you have forgotten the $1. Not all at once, but in reasonable numbers, and as far as maybe in an alphabetical order. Why so? He wants to make a list. He wants to make a list of those people who have owed $1 to him. And if he feels that there are so many in numbers, may it be in the alphabetical order, okay? And I will immediately write their names down on the paper. I don't count here men who may have lent me $1, an odd dollar over a bridge table. Now what is this bridge table? What is bridge table? Students, bridge is a kind of a game which has been played using cards. Pattani Ramat, that is bridge table. Now table, why? Because you always play the cards of game on a table, which is in the that thing. And I am not thinking of the man who lent me 30 cents to pay for a bottle of plain soda in the Detroit Athletic Club last month. Now there are two things coming here. Why? Under the bridge, over a bridge table means he had given some amount on the bridge table that was an odd dollar he had lent maybe by other people, and he did not want to give it back. And the other thing is about the 30 cents. Now there are many people, for whom you do a lot many things. And if suppose he or she, or may it be anyone who has given you a bottle of soda which is very required at that time, so you don't want to pay off those 30 cents, which is a very, very small amount. So here there are two incidences when he wants not to pay that odd dollar or the 30 cents to those two people. I always find that there is nothing like plain soda after a tiring ride across the Canada frontier, and that man who advanced that 30 cents knows exactly why I felt that I had done enough for him. Here you can see that the person is telling that he has given his many things, or he has lended, or he has done much more things for him, and thus if he gives you a 30-cent bottle of soda, it is not a big deal, It's only a plain soda after tiring ride across the Canada frontier, right? But if any man ever lent me $1 to pay for a taxi, then when I was starting for Bermuda, I want to pay it. Why? Why? Because it becomes the same incident. Why he is repeating here? He wants that Mr. Todd could understand that to move out for Bermuda, or to move out for doing such things, is very, very important. You are taking that dollar and you did not return that dollar back. Fine. Here, mentioning the same case, he wants again Mr. Todd to get reminded about that odd dollar. More than that, I want to start a general movement, a back to honesty movement, for paying all these odd dollars that are borrowed in moments of expansion. Now, let us have some discussion over this back to honesty movement. Back to honesty movement is something, which we can all start doing it. You remember one such movement about the Ahimsa movement and all? Here also, what the person, Mr. Leacock, wants to pass on the message is that be honest. Be honest. Be sure that have responsibility in you. If you have that responsibility, you have taken something from others, you need to repay it back. That simple thing, if you do it, if you even borrow a pen from your friend and you return back that pen, saying, oh, I have borrowed that pen and I want to return it back to you. That 5 rupees pen might not cost much in the mind of your friends, but it might happen so that that pen, when it has been returned, has a lot of importance for him. This is what Mr. Leacock always shows in his short stories. The short stories, when he has been writing since many times, he wants to pass on a simple message to people in his stories. He wants that people should understand, and that message should be on a broad prospect, move around to understand that there has to be something which you have to have in your minds, which is called as responsibility. Right? My lost dollar, that means he knows that that dollar is never to be reminded. You cannot remind for a small dollar-like thing, but it remains in your mind. And it is always going to hinder you while we are being very good friends. Now, furthermore, in this story, we also show about certain things which has made you feel that the things which you are giving should be again reminded in a soft manner. Right? Here, my lost dollar has got many other points which you have to understand, which is showing that Mr. Todd, every time, may it be a reason while you're talking about Bermuda, while walking throughout, or you're talking about Poland, and you are even understanding that Poland could not pay her debts, still you are not getting reminded the things. So these are many things which you have to remember in this slide. Let us remember that the greatest nations were built upon the rock basis on absolute honesty, and thus it has been said that honesty is the best policy. In conclusion, may I say that I do particularly ask that no reader of this book will be careless enough to leave this copy round where it might be seen by Major Todd of the University Club of Montreal. Now, this is something, an ironical end. The end of the lost dollar suggests that you should deliberately keep such kind of copies near to Mr. Todd, that is Major Todd of the University Club of Montreal. You can see that University Club of Montreal, the whole thing has been given to you. He wants that the dollar should be reminded somehow to Mr. Todd. There are many chances, there are many cases when you again go back to the first slide and understand that there are words which will be of more importance. My Lost Dollar is one such story when the author wants people to understand that if you start a movement to make other people remind about what you have done, which is wrong, it might happen so that you will again get back the honesty, right? And that honest approach towards the nation, towards the fellow members, will be very important for your endeavor, right? Let us see, coming to the first slide, that what are the difficult words coming inside the story. The first slide, we have the word which is prospect. Prospect means chances. Prospect of return. Owing is to repay, right? Whatever has lent has to be